Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back for another episode, and I'm absolutely thrilled today to have Charlie McIlvain with us. Charlie, first of all, welcome and thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today. Charlie, could you tell us a little bit about your professional background?
Sure. I feel like I've been in leadership positions most of my life. In fact, my slogan is lifelong commitment to service. But starting in high school and through college, I was involved in various leadership activities. I know you're a Rotarian, and early on when Interact was first beginning to get cranking, I was selected as one of the top 8 leaders out of a class of 555 for our Interact program there in my high school. And got a good start there. I was ROTC battalion commander in high school. And then I went on to college and spent time in various leadership positions. And then throughout my career, I've been in leadership positions. So this was just a natural transition going from where I've been. And most of my career, I managed destination marketing organizations, which were primarily convention visitors bureaus promoting cities. And been in, like I said, been in leadership positions all along. I've been in most of the travel industry boards over the years and chaired most of those. And I've graduated from the United States Chamber of Commerce Institute for Organizational Management. That was through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Southern Methodist University. And then, like I say, every place I've been, right, even after I retired, I've remained active. I'm in on 4 boards right now.
Talk about remaining active. You're active right now in a race for commissioner's court.
That's correct.
Tell us about that.
Excited about that. As I mentioned, with my background, I felt through leadership activities and with being president of the chamber or of the Rotary Club and active in the Habitat for Humanity organization and the Heart of the Hills Heritage Center, the new Guadalupe River Association or organization that's putting working to put a new river facility in. I felt like it was a natural transition to move on into county commissioner when Jonathan Letts announced his retirement. He's left big shoes to fill, and we've had excellent county commissioners for the last 50 years, but I feel like I'm the right person to step into this position now.
Could you tell our listeners the difference between county government and the city of Kerrville government?
You bet. Of course, City of Kerrville is mayoral manager form of government. We've got a mayor and city council members, and then they oversee that they are responsible for hiring the city manager and the city attorney. And those individuals, the city manager runs the city of the day to day operation and reports to the council. And then at the county level, we've got a county judge and 4 county commissioners and primarily responsible for establishing and overseeing the budget and road and bridge activities, among other things, establishing salaries for employees. Those are the primary differences.
One of the things that had not fully appreciated before I moved to Kerrville was not simply the importance of the tourism industry, but the importance as an economic generator. And I know you've been in that for quite some time. Could you explain the importance of tourism for both economic generation and tax revenue?
Absolutely. The Kerrville's a primary example. Kerrville is definitely a tourism community. Roughly a third of the taxes generated in the community are generated by visitors to our communities. Therefore, the economic factors come in. The great thing about tourism is that the visitors come to Kerrville, they'll spend time here, they spend their money, and of course, which generates or goes towards some of it goes towards the tax base, which reduces the tax rate that every citizen of Kerrville pays. And then the great thing about a visitor is they're here, they spend their money and enjoy their visit, and then they go home. So we don't have to build a whole lot of extra facilities for them, but there are needs, and we do have some of those. We've got other needs in this community. In my opinion, we need to consider somewhere down the road.
So I think one of the hidden gems is the youth center. And, and I,
Without a doubt.
I feel that way because it seems to me and my wife, it's brought us into the community in ways that we hadn't been able to in others. Could you speak about the youth center and how you see its importance for Kerr County?
Yes, be glad to. One, the Youth Event Center is just that. It's and not only for youth, but it's other organizations too. There are dog shows, and of course, one of the big ones is the stock show. But there are any number of meetings and events that take place out there on a weekly basis, and we don't have a convention center per se here in Kerrville, so that somewhat takes the place of a convention or conference center. There are organizations that the Convention Visitors Bureau goes out and works to attract and bring those visitors or those organizations into the community. And again, they stay in our hotels, they eat in the restaurants, they shop and spend money while they're in the community. They buy gasoline or fuel if it's a diesel vehicle. And again, once they've been here for 3 or 4 days or a week for the conference or for the event, then they go home, but they leave their money here with us, which again, economic generator.
The how do you help people understand, or maybe how do you think through the growth issue? Because there's a lot of ways to think about it in Kerrville. Some people don't want any growth. Some people want us to keep what we got. Some people say maybe we need some growth. And how do you assess that issue?
Well, I think growth is important. I don't certainly don't want to see Kerrville and Kirk County just explode by any means. But a community has got to experience some growth to maintain its health, to stay healthy. And I think it's important that we look at that growth and make sure it's a controlled growth. Again, we don't want to explode and don't want to grow too quickly, but some growth is necessary in order to continue to be vibrant. One of the things we've got to look at is workforce housing in our community. And workforce housing is important because that's the thing that we need for educators, for first responders, service industry, our wait staff, and our folks that take care of the community itself or wait on work in the hospitality industry. So we've got to have some growth and we've got to have some workforce housing in order for those individuals to find a place to live. But without growth, a community somewhat it's like a body of water, it dies on the vine. We have to experience some growth in order to maintain the health of the community.
Kirk County is quite large geographically. And I don't want to say we have a big city here, but we do have a city.
We do have
And the issues in the city are a little bit different than those in rural areas. How do you propose to help those maybe who don't live in the city or live a little bit further out? And how can the county help them as well?
there are rules and regulations that we all have to live with, and so the county helps oversee new subdivisions outside the county, or I'm sorry, outside the city, and help maintain the quality that we experience there. Quality of life issues are important, and we've got to continue to make certain that we keep the standards up. The road, bridges are important in county government, and that's where we need to oversee and make certain that we're doing all the right things and taking the right steps to maintain the quality of life that our citizens expect and anticipate.
I've heard our county judge talk several times about I-10 and potential expansion for I-10 10, 20 years down the road. And listen to that, it strikes me of the need for Kerr County to have a voice in that. We may not run it, but we at least need to be heard. Do you assess that?
I think that's accurate. We're 10 is going to expand as the community and the county and Texas in general grows. We're going to see more and more usage of our interstate system and our road system. We've experienced that in the 10 or 12 years that I've been here. We've seen growth. So I think we've got to participate and have a voice in what goes on and make certain that we've got the exits and entrances and what have you to the community that we need to, again, create the or take care of the needs of economic development activities. You got to look at the interstate system as a transportation system that carries goods and services up the road. So it's important that we have a part in that, a say in how those roads and are are maintained and established and help oversee that growth activity.
I moved here in April of 2021 from Houston, like many folks. But one of the things that struck me was that I see huge economic opportunity for an entrepreneur, small business, someone who may want to sell literally international.
And that opportunity does exist.
And so that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. Is that something that we can maybe focus on countywide to demonstrate to people, not only do you have a great quality of life here, but you can have a great quality of business because I run a worldwide business, literally in Kerr County.
You bet. And that's important. You touched on quality of life, and that's one of the reasons that I believe we see a lot of the residents and the citizens and the leadership we have here. I was fortunate. Many people have to wait till they retire to relocate to Kerrville, and I was able to spend the last 10 years of my career in Kerrville. The and quality of life is a big factor there. How many cities this size and communities and counties this size do you know that have 3 hospital systems and 2 universities and, again, transportation system using the interstate and a river that's used for recreational purposes? And another great thing, people don't always agree, but for the most part, these entities, the government entities, get along pretty well together. We've got a, a good airport system and the university and K-Pub, the city and the county all work together. And we've got exceptional leadership in each one of those organizations that help the quality of life and, again, expand on the opportunities that people have here. Again, how many cities do you know that have an individual that's walked on the moon as a resident? Or how many communities do you know that have the number of millionaires per capita that we have? Between here and Fredericksburg, we've got more millionaires per capita than any other city in Texas. And they could live anywhere they want to. They don't even have to live in Texas, but they've selected this area for the quality of life that we all experience, or at least partially for the quality of life. And so that same quality of life impacts the business opportunities and it helps create those leadership opportunities, people willing to work together and work with those businesses to cover their needs and see what needs to be done in order to make those individuals successful.
Close on quality of life is public safety. And what I wanted to ask you was, what's the role of the county in public safety, and how would you see your role as a county commissioner?
Primarily supporting the sheriff's department at this stage in the game is as long as the southern border is open to the point that it is, we're going to we're going to be vulnerable to human smuggling, drug trafficking, drug sales, and other legal activities. And we've got to work with our sheriff's department. I think Sheriff Letha is one of the top sheriff officials certainly in Texas. We're fortunate to have him, and it's important that we support he and his key staff members and his entire deputies, all his deputies, the entire sheriff's office in making sure they've got the employees, the equipment, the technology they need to continue to make certain that Kerrville and Kerr County are safe and secure.
You have one issue that frankly I was not aware of, and I'm just going to read it.
Okay.
Secure data storage space. Why is that an issue and what's the role of the county?
Of course, we've got the county records that date back from the start of the county, the birth of the county, and those are important. You have to keep the original documents, and then you need to digit also. And it's important that we keep up with that, and that in this day and time, there are so many people out there trying to hack into the systems and what have you. We've got to maintain security. And what's a one-upsmanship situation, it seems every time anyone comes up with a new system for securing documents, somebody's going to try to beat the system and get into that system. So we've got to maintain security at that level to make sure our documents are secure, yet they need to have access to them. Citizens need to have access to grants and to deeds and deed restrictions and what have you, property they own. So it's important that we maintain that system and make sure it's secure yet available to the public.
Let's turn now to Rotary.
Okay.
I met you at Rotary. You're a longtime Rotarian. So I'd like to start off by asking you, what are some of the things you've done or maybe highlights for you in your Rotary life?
I've had the pleasure of being Rotary Club president in 2 different communities, and then I spent 9 years on the National Tour Association board, and during that time, I was on the road quite a bit. Then in 2003, I was president or chairman of that organization. I spent 70% of the time traveling. So I took a leave of absence from my home club at that time, but I visited Rotary clubs every opportunity I had, and the thing that I quickly noticed is that no 2 Rotary clubs are exactly alike. One of them that I enjoyed visiting, I was in Paris, France, and got to the club about 11:30, and they were already into happy hour when I got there, and they quit they cut back on their happy hour and went into lunch about a little before 1 and had the program. Of course, it was all in French, so I had no idea what was going on until we got to the four-way test, and that was in English, and I didn't know whether they did that for my benefit or that they always did their four-way test in English. And then as soon as they adjourned, they went right back into happy hour. And again, the camaraderie was there. You could tell they were working together and having a good time. And every club I've visited, I have learned something from or gained something. So I encourage all Rotarians to visit other clubs from time to time. Not only is it an opportunity for a makeup session, but again, just the things you pick up and you learn in those clubs. You bring back things that you can implement into your club when you're doing that. So that was certainly a major factor. Also enjoyed attending the national conventions, and that convention is huge, brings in roughly 30,000 delegates and from around the world, and delegates in their native attire. And during the main course of the sessions, they speak 6 different languages at the same time. So it's a huge operation, and it's interesting. Now, the when I was club president here, I was club president in 2019 and 2020, and unfortunately, same time as COVID hit, in 2019, the international convention was in Germany, and they canceled that one, and then the next year it was in Hawaii, and I thought, "Man, that'll be a nice opportunity also." That one was canceled due to COVID, and then the next year, the convention I attended happened to be in Houston. Again, it was a great opportunity to meet people and experience the convention and the activities and all the training sessions and meet people worldwide. So I encourage, if anyone's interested in Rotary, contact you or me or any Rotarian and visit the club and see if it might be right for them. But I'm a firm believer in Rotary. I think it's an opportunity to give back to the community. It's an opportunity to work on projects that not only impact Kerrville and Kerr County, but some of those projects are nationwide type projects and some are worldwide. Our Rotary Club helps with programs in third world countries for water and for health and human health. And so it's a great organization founded in 1905 and started with just 4 attorneys, which I know that's your background too, but they started just rotating from office to office. And from that's how it got its name. And from there, they realized we could go ahead and expand a little bit and meet in restaurants, which they did, and it didn't take long for them to realize that service projects were also important, not just going down and sitting down and visiting. So Rotary is the world's largest service organization. Another thing that Rotary has done and continues to do is working to eradicate polio. And that program started, 20 or 25 years ago. And at that time, there were something like 700,000 cases of polio worldwide. And by 2010, it had been eradicated to the point there were only 100 cases worldwide. And right now, there are only two countries that polio even exists. So thanks to Rotary and the efforts of the Rotary Club, a lot has come. Polio is almost eradicated.
Charlie, we're getting near the end of our time, but I wanted to ask, was there anything you wanted to bring up before we closed out, or I ask you what might be the best way to find out more information about you?
They can I have a website, which is Charlie Mac PCT3, and it's capital C HARLIE, then capital M, small case c, capital P, small case CT3.com. That's Charlie Mac Precinct 3. You bet. I'd love to. If they've got questions, they can ask questions. I'd be happy to address those.
Charlie, I want to do a thank you for taking the time to
I
visit
appreciate
with us.
the opportunity to be with you this morning. It's been an interesting session.
I look forward to continuing this conversation when you're our county commissioner.
Very well.